When we talk about the future of the internet, there are these two giants, Ethereum and Binance, locked in this massive battle. And it all really boils down to one fundamental question, a single critical trade-off that could literally define everything we do online.
Okay, so let's set the scene. You've probably been there. You find this awesome NFT, this piece of digital art you just have to have, or maybe you're trying to make a really time-sensitive trade on a decentralized exchange. You're all set, you click confirm, and then you wait. And then you see the fee.
And that fee can be absolutely insane. I mean, we're not talking a few cents. We're talking $20, $50, sometimes even $75 or more, just to get your one transaction processed. It's more than frustrating, right? For a lot of people, that's a total deal breaker. It just feels broken.
Which naturally brings us to the big question here. Why? Why are these fees so high, and why are things so slow on some networks? And more importantly, is there a better way, a faster, cheaper way? Well, the answer to both is yes, and it gets us right into this fascinating clash of philosophies.
So let's start with the OG, the original, Ethereum. It was the pioneer, right? The first one that really brought us smart contracts and dApps. But, as you'll see, being first definitely comes at a price.
Ethereum's whole vision was just unbelievably ambitious. The idea was to create a single global computer that no one person, no one company, no one government could control. Their number one goal, the absolute non-negotiable, was decentralization. This thing had to be unstoppable.
And to pull that off, Ethereum originally used a system called proof of work. Now, the easiest way to think about this is like a huge worldwide lottery. Thousands and thousands of computers are all racing each other to solve these really hard math puzzles, all just to validate a single block of transactions. It makes the network incredibly secure. You'd need a ridiculous amount of computing power to cheat. But all that work, all that competition, it makes things incredibly slow.
And when I say slow, the scale of the problem is just staggering. On a good day, Ethereum might process, 15, maybe 20 transactions per second. Now compare that to something we all know like Visa. They handle around 24,000. That massive difference, that bottleneck, is exactly why your fees go through the roof. It's just basic supply and demand. Huge demand, teeny tiny supply.
So, this problem of being slow and expensive, well, it created a huge opportunity. And another giant in the space, Binance, jumped right in to fill that gap with the Binance Smart Chain, or BSC. Its entire reason to exist was to fix Ethereum's biggest headaches.
And man, when you look at them side by side, the difference is just night and day. Where Ethereum is chugging along at 15 to 30 transactions a second, BSC is just flying by, handling around 300. That's a 10x improvement right off the bat. Less waiting, way less traffic jams. But here's the part that really got everyone's attention, the real game changer, the cost. Remember that transaction that could cost you $50 on Ethereum? Well, on BSC, you're looking at maybe a few cents. This suddenly made things like gaming or frequent trading actually possible for the average person.
So you have to be asking yourself, how? How is that even possible? How can BSC be so much faster and that much cheaper? Well, it's not some kind of magic. It's a very, very deliberate choice, and it reveals the big trade-off that's at the very heart of this whole debate. See, BSC uses this totally different system called proof-of-stake authority. So forget about that global competition where anyone can join. BSC is more like an exclusive club with a bouncer and a velvet rope. It relies on a small, pre-approved group of people to validate everything. And, well, when you only need to get a handful of folks to agree, things move a lot faster.
And when you just lay it all out, the core difference is so clear. Ethereum's model is all about being decentralized with this huge number of validators. BSC, on the other hand, is way more centralized with just a tiny group. This one choice, this is the key to everything.
To make its network truly decentralized and secure, Ethereum relies on this global army of validators. We're talking over 200,000 of them, and anyone can join in. It really is a democracy of computers.
And BSC, the network that's 10 times faster and 1,000 times cheaper, how does it do it? By using just 21 validators. That's it, 21. It's incredibly efficient for sure, but it also means that the power, the control over the whole network is in the hands of a very, very small group. And this, right here, is the perfect analogy. Think about it. Getting a decision from an entire country of millions of people, that's going to take time. It's messy. But getting a decision from a 21-person board of directors,
That can happen in an instant. One prioritizes broad consensus, the other prioritizes raw efficiency.
Okay, so that's a lot of tech talk, but what does it actually mean for you? For the user, the developer, the person just trying to use this stuff? When it comes down to it, how on earth do you choose?
Well, it really just comes down to what you're trying to do. If you're managing billions of dollars or storing priceless digital assets, you probably want the Fort Knox level security and decentralization that Ethereum offers. But if you're building a video game with millions of tiny in-game purchases or a social media app, then the speed and super low cost of BSC are pretty much impossible to ignore.
This whole thing is actually a perfect example of something called the blockchain trilemma. The idea is simple. You have three things you want: decentralization, security, and scalability, which is just a fancy word for speed and low cost. But here's the catch. You can only ever really nail two of them. Ethereum chooses decentralization and security and gives up scalability. BSC does the complete opposite. It chooses security and scalability and gives up decentralization.
So, at the end of the day, this argument between Ethereum and Binance, it's not really about which one is better. There's no clear winner. It's really a question of philosophy. It's about what you value more. Do you value the unstoppable, democratic ideal of a world computer? Or do you value the practical, efficient performance that we need for mass adoption to happen right now?
And that leaves us with the million-dollar question for the entire future of the web. As we build out this next generation of the internet, which path do we take? Do we choose the slow, steady, unstoppable path of decentralization, or do we go for the raw speed and convenience that a more centralized approach gives us? The answer isn't just going to decide who wins this fight, it's going to shape our digital lives for decades.